very special evening to all our listeners at I-95.5. Our listeners who are logged on to www.i955fm.com, your favorite station, I-95.5 FM. Well, we are on the road again. It's election time here in Trinidad and Tobago. Election day, that's about 2 months from now. And your favorite station, I-95.5 FM. Well, we are up here on the Lady Young Road in Morvant. And we are here to bring you this public meeting hosted by the People's National Movement. Last evening, your favorite station, I-95.5 FM, we were down in Gasparillo bringing you the United National Congress public meeting. This evening, we are here at the corner of Morvant Avenue and Lady Young Road in Morvant. According to the program, the chair for the evening is Ms. Camille Robinson-Regis. She is the candidate for Aruka Maloney, and she's also the lady vice chair of the party that's of the People's National Movement. We just heard the national anthem by Ms. Pamela Rochelle. We are now having the opening prayer by Ms. Camila Julian. The first speaker will be Ms. Joy Benjamin, the youth speaker. She's from the Laventille East Mova constituency, and the second speaker will be Mr. Adrian Leons, the candidate for Laventille East Mova. And the third speaker, Ms. Marlene McDonald, the candidate for Port of Spain South. The fourth speaker, Mr. Fitzgerald Hines, the candidate for Laventille West. And of course, the feat here by the political leader of the People's National Movement, the oldest political party we have here in Trinidad and Tobago. And that, the leader is Dr. Keith Rowley. A nice, beautiful evening here in Trinidad and Tobago. Let me take this opportunity to say a very special hello to all our friends who are logged on to Stay tuned to your favorite station, I-95.5 FM, and we will bring you all the action as Trinidad and Tobago gets ready for election 2015. At the podium now is the chair for the evening, Camille Robinson-Regis. Let's go across to Ms. Regis.
In Laventille East Morvant, we stand in one of the 4 constituencies that has always voted PNM. Those constituencies are Laventille East Morvant, Laventille West, San Fernando East, and Bukulambo in Tobago. These constituencies are the bedrock of the PNM. They never moved, they never shifted, they never wavered. These constituencies are the foundation of the PNM family. And family, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of our society. Family contributes to our growth, our development, and our stability. And tonight, we say, thank you, Laventille East. Thank you, Laventille West. Thank you, San Fernando East. And thank you, Bukulambo. Ladies and gentlemen, this election is not just about flesh and blood. This election is a fight against principalities and powers. This election is a fight for strength of character. It is a fight about who can really govern Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight, as we stand on this platform in the bedrock of the PNM, where our families must fight to stay together, I say to you tonight, it is only the PNM that can truly govern this country. I say without fear of contradiction that the team led by Keith Christopher Rowley is the team that you can trust to govern fairly and for all the people. In Trinidad and Tobago today, we are in the midst of challenging times. Our resources for patience, the limits of our morality, our ability to feel shock and disdain are at their limit. And that is because Kamla Prasad Bisesa and her band of marauders have taken us to the depths of despair. They have taken us to the lowest our country has ever been. They have removed our dignity. They have challenged us to breaking point as at no other time in our country. And I say to you tonight, in Laventille East Morvant, which has the highest density of educational institutions in our country, outside of St. Joseph, where we have institutions of learning in Malik, Success Laventille, the Russell Latapy School, numerous primary schools, our Laventille Technology Center, the Morvant Laventille School. Every single child in this area, in Port of Spain, in Laventille West, is within walking distance of an educational institution. And I say to you tonight, people of Laventille East Morvant and people of Trinidad and Tobago, we must ensure that our country receives a transformation. It must start here. Whatever the dream, you can say it can be accomplished. The dream of the PNM has always been development of infrastructure and people. We know that you, who have been the foundation of our party, are the catalyst that will ensure that come September 7th, the People's National Movement will once again be the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Now is the time for Keith Christopher Rowley to be the Prime Minister. Now is the time for Marlene MacDonald to again be the Member of Parliament for Port of Spain South. Now is the time for Fitzgerald Hines to be the Member of Parliament for Laventille West. Now is the time for Adrian Leons to be the Member of Parliament for Laventille East Morvant. Now is the time for Stuart Young to be the Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. Now is the time, ladies and gentlemen, for the PNM to form the true government of Trinidad and Tobago. Tonight I say to you, the task at hand is to correct the racism of the last 5 years. The task at hand is to correct the nepotism of the last 5 years. The task at hand is to correct this waste of time government that was put in place for the last 5 years. If we neglect this responsibility, you neglect your children and grandchildren. I say to you tonight, without fear of contradiction, that it is only the PNM that can correct the misdeeds of the last 5 years. And as we start our meeting, I say to you, vote People's National Movement, because great is the PNM And we are great in Laventille East Morvant. Great is the PNM. And we are great in Port of Spain South. Great is the PNM. And we are great in Laventille West. Great is the PNM. And we are great with your help in Trinidad and Tobago. It is my honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our first speaker. Her name is Joy Benjamin. Joy is our youth speaker who is 23 years old. She is from Pashley Street, Laventille. Joy is a student of the University of the West Indies, where she did a BSc in political science and is now pursuing her MSc in global studies. She was educated at the St. Francois Girls College, and the former member of parliament, or the current member of parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, I'm sure, is very proud. She was involved in the RBTT Young Leaders Program and also the newly formed NGO targeted towards youth, and which will be launched in October after we win the general election. Ladies and gentlemen, join with me in bringing to the podium our youth speaker, Joy Benjamin.
I am a mountain, I am a tall tree, oh, I am a swift wind, sweeping the country. I am a river down in the valley, oh, I am a vision, and I can see clearly. If anybody like you, I am. Just stand up tall, look them in the face and say, I'm that star up in the sky, I'm that mountain peak up high. Hey, I made it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the warm welcome. Good evening to the party chairman, Mrs. Camille Robinson-Regis, Mr. Franklin Khan, political leader of the People's National Movement, and next Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Good evening to the party secretary, Mr. Ashton Ford, party executives and local government representatives. And the candidate, next Member of Parliament for Laventille East Morvant, the young and vibrant Adrian Leons. PNM family, media, and my fellow young people, good evening. My name is Joy Benjamin, and I would like to start off by saying I am extremely excited and honored to be here tonight representing the youth in my community, and even more pleased to be doing so under such a prestigious party like the People's National Movement. Firstly, I want us to concentrate on this special area that we are in right now, that is the Laventille East Morvant area. Some people may ask, what makes this area so special, and call it at risk, while others may say crime-ridden. I would tell you what, because we are all the beautiful results of this area. Whether or not there is stigma and stereotypes attached to our community, we have somehow taken the negativity thrown at us and used it to make something of ourselves. What's special is that despite all the challenges and issues that others may see within this community, we have managed to survive and show that there is more good than anything else in this community. Yes, as in every town, village, city, there are those who have made bad decisions which affect the community as a whole, which may lead people to think, we're not going away. Should that stop us? No. Has it stopped us? Obviously not. Now, how do we as youths continue to develop within this community? That is with support. support from family, friends, and others, and with a good avenue provided for us to succeed. In no way can we keep on trotting without well-defined goals, brought-on policies, and strategies to achieve such. Thus, our leader, post-September 7th, has to be no other than the Dr. Keith Rowley, the one that I am representing on this platform here tonight, and by extension, the People's National Movement. And what exactly do I mean by that? I'm going to use myself as an example. I grew up in a very humble home in Laventille. I have a strong support system. Despite many challenges today, I am proud to say that I am able to pursue my postgraduate degree in global studies at the University of West Indies. Did this not happen overnight? From the support, I was able to gain this type of education. At this juncture, we cannot forget that the policies developed by the PNM is responsible for developing a meritocratic educational system. And furthermore, the reason that we can freely access innumerable opportunities in our educational pursuits, namely GATE, HELP, CC, MUST, even MIC, which this present administration has claimed to be their brainchild. But succeeding is not only related to education. In many cases, it could be sport, and in its skill like singing, entrepreneurship, landing a certain job or promotion, anything that develops you according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The height of any individual is in their ability to achieve self-actualization. And through the policies developed by the PNM-led Dr. Keith Rowley, this remains paramount to the development of all citizens. With that being said, I can say vote for change, but we all know that change is inevitable, whether good or bad. Why not vote for a party which would implement policies not to merely gain votes, but has the people's best interests at heart? A solid party that has and continues to lay the foundation for good governance, with which others used to build upon. The PNM is seeking to develop youth holistically by working towards a greater understanding of young people, to focus on the issue of employment by developing an employment policy for youth which focuses on the specific needs of unemployed youth, including preparation for job markets and the differing needs of youth in the diverse communities that we have today. Also, the PNM is working towards building an environment where youth can learn and get involved in entrepreneurship, and to encourage the private sector to increase its level of youth employment. Also, the PNM is concentrating on devoting special emphasis to the rehabilitation of young offenders, as well as proper support systems to assist in their reintegration in society. This is particularly moving, as I believe that mistakes are made and a second chance can help youth stay away from deviant behavior, because seeing leaders go the extra mile for individuals who were once looked down upon by society can bring a change in one's behavior, thus helping to further build upon the people within our community. This is what we need in a community like ours, a political party that cares for everyone and strives for equality and equity. However, it doesn't stop there. The PNM seeks to develop a system where dialogue between youth and the wider community can be increased, thus creating a voice for us as young people, so we can openly state our concerns and needs, to establish an environment where healthy living can be encouraged and recreational activities expanded, where youths can be encouraged and develop positivity. But if I have to go on about the wonderful plans this political party has for the youth in Trinidad and Tobago, believe me, I could stay here all night. So what I would try to say is that, but from what has been gathered, who you vote for on September 7th should be no doubt to you. Vote for the Dr. Rowley-led movement. Vote for a leader and a party who wants to encourage the youth. A party who understands that the youth are just as important as anyone else in this society. A party that is willing to work closely in the community to help to further develop Trinidad and Tobago's youth. A party which knows that we are the future and that when it comes to citizens, our opinion matters. A party that seeks to bring the community closer together. A party that knows the youths are often taken for granted. Vote for the party that cares. Vote for the People's National Movement so we can build a nation together, including youth. As we say in the PNM style, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we will prevail come Monday, 7th September 2015. Thank you.
I am a mountain. I am a tall tree. Oh, I am a swift wind sweeping the country. I am a river down in the valley. Oh, I am a vision.
Heartiest congratulations to Joy Benjamin on her maiden speech on a political platform. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Patrick Mervyn Augustus Manning who said to us that the dream of the PNM has always been the development of infrastructure and people. We have always had vision, commitment, energy, organization, action, honesty, principled leadership, love of people, and love of country. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, the history of the PNM has been to always look for committed people to present to you as candidates for either the general election or the local government election. Tonight, I introduce to you our next speaker, Adrian Xavier Leonce is the candidate for Laventille East Morvant, and I make bold to say the next member of Parliament for Laventille East Morvant. Born on March 7th, 1979 in Pitch Road, Morvant, Adrian Xavier Leonce attended Western Boys RC, now known as Sacred Hearts, then to Trinity College, then to Polytechnic, the government sixth form school, and then to the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, where he studied mechanical engineering and graduated with honors. Adrian then obtained his Masters of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Manchester, graduating with a distinction. Mr. Leonce is the founder of the community-based company Leonce Innovations Company Limited, which employs people from the community of Laventille. Adrian Xavier Leonce is the second of three siblings. He is married, and he is the father of 5 children. Ladies and gentlemen, join with me in welcoming the candidate for Laventille East Morvant, the father and the husband, Adrian Xavier Leonce.
Good night, everybody. Nice, I like the vibes. All protocols observed. Good evening, my brothers and sisters of Laventille East Morvant. Good evening, my PNM family. I am Adrian Leons, and I am offering you my parliamentary service for you to be a representative for this constituency. I offer you my life to be the person that spearheads the change of this community. I know that Laventille East Mover will be the place that everyone will watch and want to be part of, will envy. It will be the place that Trinidad and Tobago look upon as the example. I am very happy that you are going to give me the opportunity to be part of that great time. First of all, allow me to give the outgoing Member of Parliament, Ms. Donna Cox, thanks for all the work that she has done. Ms. Cox has worked tirelessly, and her work is not in vain. I stand as a runner in a relay, and Ms. Cox is going to hand me the baton, the MP baton, so that I can continue to work and take that leg even further. I want to run this race as a race that have never been run before. I want to represent the people of this constituency as you has never been represented before. I want this family to reunite, to come together and achieve what we have never achieved before. Brothers and sisters, I have already been introduced, and I am a very proud person standing in the position that I am, only because of PNM policy. We have to acknowledge the work that the People's National Movement has done for the country of Trinidad and Tobago. I am a proud person standing here to represent Pitchroad, to represent Laventille, to represent what we call as the ghetto of Trinidad and Tobago. I know that the stigma attached to this place and all like places will be soon eradicated and eliminated. I know with my colleagues, Mr. Fitzgerald Hines, Ms. Marlene McDonald, Mr. Stuart Young, and all of Port of Spain can come together and change this country. We would be the pilot of Trinidad and Tobago. Who fixed, according to my dear friend here, who fixed Laventille? Fixed Trinidad and Tobago. This is my community. This is your community. This is our community that we are very proud of. I have never been so proud to stand up and say that I am a person that came out of Laventille. You know, I I was on Shen Street one night, and there was a discussion about nothing good comes out of Laventille. And what was said was very profound. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Yes. And when we look at our young speaker here, when we look at the people that come out of Laventille, Morvant and the environs, we have to change that statement. We have to change the statement and make the statement to be, let us look to the hills where everything good comes out. Let us be proud of Laventille. Let us acknowledge our heroes. Let us forward ever. Nice. I like the vibes. When I was in the UK, a lot of opportunities came to me. Opportunities for career building. Opportunities that was very tempting, where financially I would have been okay. My family would have been financially okay. And it was not very difficult for me to turn those opportunities down, because I do not belong there. And we as people of Trinidad and Tobago need to come back and to build our country together. I want to make a call on the people from Laventille that has been very successful and have left the community. I want to make a call for you to come back. Come back and let us work together. Let us work together to build the community and encourage the young people that have the opportunity to build and grow. Now, I am very lucky. I had both my parents supporting me, right? My mother is a hero to me, and I know she's somewhere in the crowd. Yes, that woman is a hero to me. Let me tell you why. That woman took all that PNM educational policies gave after she had us, meaning she was married with children, and then decided, let me use the opportunities that the People's National Movement have provided. She took that opportunity and she went and she studied and she attained her education. She has been what I have always been looking forward, so that I can emulate and grow and make her proud. I'm saying this to say, the people of Laventille and Morvant and the environs that have been successful, come back. There are young people that want to look forward and look at someone. There are young people that want some guidance. There are young people that want a hand to hold, to guide. Come back and let us change what this community seems to be going. Let us change the direction. Let us make it an arrow upwards, where we had always climbed. I make a call on the people that feel as though they do not have the opportunities as the others have. I ask you to come to the people that have been successful, have used the system and came out, and continue working and building. Come to us. Ask someone. Let us guide you. Let us help you. Let us work together. We must believe the things that our founding father, Dr. Eric Williams, put forward to us. Together we aspire, and together we will always achieve. Let us work together and let us achieve what we as a people want in our community. I know for a fact that we all want to go back to the days, well, at least for me, this whole community was my playing field. It was a field full of mangoes and dogs. We used to have to get on the tree before the dogs get to us. And I remember my growing up days as a very joyful time, a time that we had no worry about danger and what is going on in the area. We could play freely. We used to go down to Morvant Savannah, play football, run races. The most sports for the year happened in Morvant. It was almost as though every week had a sports day. And it brought the community together. It made us a family. I was never hungry, even when I wasn't home. I could always stop short and get something to eat. Get something by Miss Linda. Go up the road, get some bake. It was a family. Everyone grew each other. My parents is responsible for growing me, but not my parents alone. The community of Morvant is responsible for growing me. And I would be unfair and unjust to take what this community has molded and give that service to somewhere else. I am here to serve this community. I am here to serve this community. I am here to work together with everyone. And I again call on everyone to come together. There's a lot of work to be done in this community. A lot of work to be done, and we are going to do it together. As I walk the streets, there is no love that I have ever felt before than from the love of Laventille East Morvant. This is an emotional experience for me. Everywhere I go, every street that I walk upon, even the people that have issues and genuine issues, they always give me love. And let me tell you something. That love is the love of God. And with God, all things are possible. And all things that we want will be made possible. We would ask and we shall receive. We would accomplish what we want for our community. This I know. And Laventille East Morvant has a lot of heart. We might not have a lot of rich people in the community, but let me tell you this. Everything that we need for our campaign is made present for us, is made available to us. Let us take a pause and welcome the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago.
And as was just said by Mr. Leons, the political leader of the People's National Movement, Dr. Keith Rowley, he has just arrived to this Lady venue as the People's National Movement holds their public meeting. And of course, your favorite station, 995.5 FM. We are bringing you all the action as it happened. You must know that it's the general election. The crowds are much, much bigger. This is definitely one of the larger crowds that have been attending the public meetings of the People's National Movement as they get ready for election 2015, which will be held on September 7th here in Trinidad and Tobago. And you know, normally at these public meetings you see the grassroots, you see familiar faces all the time, but as the elections come closer, suddenly you start seeing faces of persons that don't normally come to these public meetings. Sometimes you see popular faces that you see in the newspapers and on the television. And then now I can see Dr. Rowley. He now makes his way up the stairway onto the stage, and there he walks across and shakes the hand of Camille Robinson-Regis. And at the podium now, as Dr. Rowley sits, is Mr. Adrian Leons, the candidate for Laventille East Mover. Let's go across to Mr. Leons.
We are one voice in Laventille East Mover. I want to make a pledge. I want to make a pledge to Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And I want this constituency to make that pledge with me. And I want to hear the echo of this constituency when I make this pledge. I pledge to you, sir, that on the night of the 7th of September, that Laventille East Mover will again return to the People's National Movement. And it will return in a most resounding manner as it has never returned before. Because we know that this election is like no other elections. And those of you who have never voted will come out and vote. Come out and vote in your numbers. Come out and vote. And let us sing together. Let us dance together. And let us say what we are always proud of saying. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we shall prevail. Thank you very much.
Yes, that was Mr. Adrian Leons, the candidate for Laventille East Mover for the People's National Movement as they get ready for the upcoming general elections here in Trinidad and Tobago. So far we have heard from Joy Benjamin. She was the youth speaker and she's from the constituency of Laventille East Mover. Just heard Mr. Adrian Leons, the candidate for Laventille East, and according to the program we'll have the heavyweights are now getting ready to come on stage. We have Marlene MacDonald, the candidate for Port of Spain South constituency. She will be followed by Fitzgerald Hines, the candidate for Laventille West, and of course the feature by the political leader of the People's National Movement here at this public meeting hosted by the oldest political party we have here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Ladies and gentlemen, that reality, Adrian Xavier Leons. Born in East Port of Spain, Marlene MacDonald is an attorney at law by profession who has a first degree in economics. Marlene served with distinction as Chief Whip of the Opposition People's National Movement. In fact, she has the further distinction of being the first woman to serve in that position. In government, Ms. MacDonald served as Minister of Community Development, and in the PNM, she is currently the Deputy Political Leader, Legislative. A woman of passion, a woman of substance, a woman who is forthright, a woman who is a hard worker, and a woman who will come to you tonight and expound on her vision for her constituency and what is happening in our blessed country. Join with me in welcoming Marlene MacDonald.
A new day dawning, emphatic calling, no time for stalling. Let's go, wake up everyone who's sleeping. Meet me on the road. New inspiration, no contemplation, deliberation. Let's go, wake up everyone who's sleeping. Meet me on the road.
Thank you, Lady Vice Chairman, Political Leader, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, Chairman of our party, Mr. Franklin Khan, Deputy Political Leaders, Mr. Rohan Sinanan, Mrs. Joan Yule Williams, of course, our Lady Vice Chair, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis, Mr. Fitzgerald Hines, prospective candidate for Laventille West, Mr. Adrian Leons, prospective candidate for Laventille East Mover, and I see the Labor Relations Officer, my good friend, Mrs. Jennifer Batiste Primus, Mr. Stuart Young, prospective candidate for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, members of the media, members of our executive, and to you, our PNM family. And let me start by saying I want to thank the police who would have put together our barricades and really assisted the operations committee here this evening. Thank you, police officers. My brothers and sisters, I thought long and hard as to what I will say to you tonight. And I got my response when I heard just 2 weeks ago the Minister of Housing, Mr. Rudal Munilal, on their public platform, described our leader as an angry, incompetent man. He said he's a man who cannot govern this country. He went on to describe him as being clueless and a man without a vision. Can you really believe this rhetoric? Also too, I listened to the Prime Minister last night, who echoed the very same sentiments. But what they want you to believe is that this election is a fight or a race between Kamala on the one hand and Dr. Rowley on the next. And that is not so. This is a fight not between individuals, but a fight between parties, two parties. It is the UNC versus the PNM, and Prakash is somewhere in between. And let me tell you up front, you see this third force, don't worry yourself. It is a total mockery. This third force was hatched in the bosom of the UNC. The UNC is well aware that the COP is dead and that those persons who supported them in 2010 would find great difficulty to lend further support in 2015. What Prakash has done with the COP, poor weak fellow he is to cause the loss of the identity of the COP. All because he sits in a so-called UNC seat and he is in the cabinet. So this third force, with all the usual recycled suspects from the COP, is really meant to deceive and confuse the public into thinking that this is a new party. A new what? And headed by whom? The former president of the Senate, Timothy Hamill-Smith. But I want to ask Timothy a question tonight, wherever you are. Since when you care about the poor and downtrodden in Laventille? Since when you care about the poor people in Beetham, in Sealots, in Duncan Street, Nelson Street, in George Street? My brothers and sisters, the objective of this third force is to catch the votes of the disenchanted COP members and then do just what Prakash did and carry those votes back to the bosom of the UNC. Mr. Hamill-Smith, I am calling on you tonight that this action, I'm calling out to you, that this action is deceptive, it is deceitful, and most disingenuous on your part. You see, we can see your plan. It is clear as daylight. But you know something? I know you have a banker, you know. Since Prime Minister Kamala dumped you as the president, you never got over. But I never knew that you had loved office so much, Mr. Hamill-Smith. But I want to tell you tonight that this is decision time. And according to Mr. Reginald Dumas, it will be the nastiest election campaign this country would ever see. But I want to reassure you, my PNM family and the citizenry at large, that from this PNM's platform, you will be educated on the plans and policies which will guide Trinidad and Tobago for the next 5 years. And this will be done under the stewardship and guidance of our political leader, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And let me tell you something. Over the last 3 years or so, and I was part of it, we spent practically each month in retreat preparing ourselves for governance. And we have examined every sector in this economy. And in the shortest possible time, next couple of weeks, our vision, our plans, our programs, our policies will be unveiled. So sit tight and you will hear what we were doing as we prepared ourselves over the last 3 to 4 years. So in my own deliberations, I thought that I should debunk those utterances of both Mr. Moonilal and the Prime Minister. And so I want to have a heart-to-heart conversation with you on who is Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. I speak in particular to the undecided voters, whoever you are and wherever you are. There comes a time in everyone's life when they must take tough decisions, and the time is now. Again, I repeat, this election is not between Kamala and Dr. Rowley, but between Team UNC and Team PNM. And we, as I said, we have spent over 6 months screening young men and women from every walk of life to be part of our team and to prepare us for governance. I will present you with a track record of performance that no other Prime Minister our sitting Prime Minister has been so groomed and so well prepared for the responsibility of the office of Prime Minister. Today, our nation is one that is in crisis. From May 2010 to now, as I speak, it is a continuing comedy of confusion, wanton wastage and corruption, spiraling crime, inequitable distribution of resources, and nepotism emanating from those who parade as government ministers. And you would recall that every step of the way, Dr. Rowley has pointed out to the citizens the lack of ethics and morality on the part of the government. He has highlighted the lack of leadership in the country, and he has shown us that this government fails to understand that ethical behavior requires that each minister should act in a respectful manner and should display basic moral principles. I do not have to repeat the many scandals of this government. We are all familiar with them. But despite all of that, this government has the temerity and the facetiousness to state that our political leader is unfit to govern Trinidad and Tobago. My brothers and sisters, there is a systematic and well-oiled plan to constantly demonize our political leader in the public domain. I want you to understand their game plan. It is simple. Attack the head of the PNM with full force, and the rest will fall. We, the PNM, must never allow this to happen. We must speak up and defend our leader. We know his track record of performance, of service, of loyalty and morality in public life. And further still, those polls that state that the Prime Minister is still highly popular, even though her government's popularity has diminished, is to be taken with a pinch of salt. I want to advise the Prime Minister, Kamala, tonight, that you will not be judged in 2015 on your popularity, but who is best fit to govern Trinidad and Tobago from 2015 onwards. Can anyone tell me or remind me as to whether anyone did an assessment of Prime Minister Kamala's fitness to govern Trinidad and Tobago back in 2010? No one did. She was too nice. Can anyone remind me as to whether Dr. Rowley launched any attack on this lady? The answer is no. This popularity talk is utter nonsense. It is primarily designed to distract the psyche of the innocent citizens, and then they use this as a launching pad to attack our political leader. My brothers and sisters, they want us, the citizens, to forget about their wanton wastage. They want us to forget that over the past 5 years, they have spent over $400 billion. They want us to forget the neglect of our communities like here in Laventille, Port of Spain South, the neglect of the capital city, Port of Spain. They want us to forget that since June the 12th, they have been spending. They have been taken from the treasury with no supervision until the 7th of September. They want us to forget the live sport debacle. They want us to forget the state of emergency. They want us to forget Section 34. Oh Lord, and the new one, the Children's Life Fund. The Children's Life Fund. And of course, the spiraling crime rate. And the only issue is that Dr. Rowley is unfit to govern and hence should be disqualified. Based on Prime Minister Kamala's track record from 2010 to now and her inability to settle this country down, she and her ministers are in no position to declare that Dr. Rowley is unfit to lead. In fact, based on her performance, she has disqualified herself. And I want to advise my sister that Dr. Rowley is not your problem. Madam, Dr. Rowley is not your problem. Your problem is with the people of Trinidad and Tobago, whom you have deceived over the past 5 years. But Dr. Rowley always reminded you that Judgment Day would be coming. Well, that day is Monday, 7th September. And the citizens of this country will be arbiter of your destiny, Madam Prime Minister. But I am comforted in knowing that the right-thinking persons in this country will never accept these classless and shameless characters to occupy the corridors of power again. Tonight, I stand before you, my PNM family, and the rest of the national community who would be listening to this broadcast to tell you who is Dr. Keith Rowley. I can have this conversation with you because as the former chief whip in the lower house and also as deputy political leader, I have had the pleasure and opportunity of working closely with this leader, and I've done so for the past 5 years. I can assure you that a person who I have come to know as our leader understands the role and responsibilities of leadership. He exemplifies the unique attributes which are demanded of those in high office. We in the PNM have no doubt that, like all exemplary and forthright leaders, he has prepared himself to take on the mantle which he will be called upon to hold when the reins of leadership in Trinidad and Tobago will be honorably bestowed upon him. I have often heard my grandparents said while I was growing up that when you are building a house, if you want the end product to be strong, to be resilient, you need to start with a strong and sound foundation. In other words, you cannot get a strong house if it is built on a shaky foundation. Permit me to use this analogy to examine whether Dr. Rowley is prepared for the task ahead as Prime Minister. Let me examine his foundation. Let me see whether his track record of performance has prepared him to be strong, to be resilient, and as a consequence can take up the responsibility of being Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. His educational background. He is the holder of a doctorate in geology, specializing in geochemistry. That is after being awarded 2 first degrees, first class honors. He has held several key positions, both in the private as well as the public sector. And I can talk a lot more, but time wouldn't permit. On his political background, he first ran for political office in 1981, where he contested the Tobago West seat. To date, he has the distinction of being the only PNM candidate to have contested a seat in a general election in both Trinidad and Tobago. He tested the political waters in Tobago, and he has never looked back. From 1991, he entered the House of Representatives as MP for Diego Martin West, where he has been re-elected in 1995, in 2000, in 2001, in 2007, in 2010, and in 2015, he will be victorious once again. So, I thank Tobago for giving us their son. And come Monday, 7th September, all Tobagonians, wherever you are, you will be proud as one of your sons will become Prime Minister for a second time. He has held on his performance. He has held several portfolios: Minister of Agriculture, Land and Marine Resources from January 1992 to October 1995. Being Minister of Agriculture, he stabilized Caroni Limited and moved us along the road to greater agricultural sufficiency. He was responsible for the tripartite agreement to extend the life of the sugar industry for a further 10 years. He was appointed Minister of Planning and Development from December 2001 to November 2003. He was charged with the responsibility of developing Vision 2020, which was a roadmap for economic development for Trinidad and Tobago. He assembled some of the best minds in the country to oversee the formulation of this vision. And may I say that this is one of the best plans we have ever had, vision and plans we have had in this country, and it remains one of the best plans this country has ever seen. He was appointed Minister of Housing from November 2003 to November 2007. He was responsible for a record number of housing, over 20,000 houses being built, the likes of which we have never seen since. He was the Minister of Trade and Industry from November 2007 to April 2008. By June 2010, Dr. Rowley became political leader of the PNM and then appointed opposition leader. His first exercise as political leader for the party, what he did is that he reviewed our constitution to recommend changes to the party. He recommended changes to the party's constitution. He was of the view that changes were needed to enhance the democratic processes of the party, and also to place the party in a state of preparedness and to make the party more attractive. And so he introduced one man, one vote. Overseas membership amended to include overseas members resident abroad. The establishment of an international liaison officer. Changes in the duration of term of office. And if you remember, he reduced the term for the political leader from 5 years to 4 years. The removal of the veto power by the leader in the selection of candidates. The removal of gender distinction between the youth officer, male and female. As our leader, he has led us to several election victories in 2013. The THA elections, 12-0. Local government election, 8 corporations, and the St. Joseph by-election. My brothers and sisters, his governance style was seen by all from the very beginning. I am prepared to work with anyone who wants to work with me. That was his mantra. As political leader in the parliament from 2010 to 2015, he brought a treasury of experience spanning some 28 years, and that is why he is the most experienced and qualified person for the job of Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. In the parliament, the first piece of advice he gave his team was, we will support any bill or measure that will redound to the benefit of the citizens of this country. And the very first evidence of this was voting in favor of the 2011 budget. Never before in the history of this country that an opposition bench has voted with the government re its budgetary measures. Over the past 5 years, under the leadership of Dr. Rowley, we were not an obstructionist opposition. We supported 89% of the bills passed in the parliament. And Dr. Rowley himself has contributed to over 70 of the debates in the parliament. What is Kamala's track record? My brothers and sisters, you will agree with me that this is a man of substance, a man who honestly believes that politics is a place for noble intention, for honest ideas, for integrity, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to building the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. Today we have to put up with those on the other side, stating that our leader is unfit to govern. Can you all recall the Prime Minister boasting that she can hold the coalition together? Well, today, the MSJ left long time. The COP has been morphed into the UNC. The TOP is dead, leaderless. Jack has formed his own party. And the NJAC never got started and never had anything to say. They want to talk about governance? Then tell us, over the past 5 years, why did you fire 25 of your ministers? It clearly shows a lack of proper judgment of character and the ability to evaluate a person's capacity to do the job. So I want to put out a public challenge today to the UNC to demonstrate to the national community who amongst them can boast of such a track record in and out of the parliament. Which one? I want to tell you that there was nothing in Kamala's past that prepared and groomed her to be thrust in the position of Prime Minister. According to her beloved former chairman of the party, former Minister of Works and National Security, Jack said her qualification and state of preparedness in 2010 was that she was the least of the evils amongst the group. That was her qualification. Her selection had nothing to do with a proven track record of performance and experience. And that is why, as a consequence of this fatal mistake, the country finds itself in this state of morass with a leader who does not have a clue, a vision of what to do. In closing, one more minute, one more time, one more. In closing, I am pretty sure you know much more about Dr. Rowley. He is loved by those who treasure truth, but despised by those who relish propaganda and lies. He is respected by those interested in the fight for justice and equality, but he intimidates those who thrive on discrimination. He does not seek to buy integrity, but he earns it. Today he stands 10 feet tall, one of the most experienced and well-groomed politicians. I call him a prime minister in waiting, and we all must salute him. He has grown before our very eyes for the past 28 years. He has come to us standing on the shoulders of some of Trinidad and Tobago's best prime ministers, Dr. Eric Williams, George Michael Chambers, Patrick Manning. And I want to tell you, with Dr. Rowley at the helm of the PNM, one thing you can be assured, that by the grace of God, Trinidad and Tobago shall overcome. And on the night of the 7th of September, gather in your numbers at Balize House, and we will sing in unison, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.
A new day dawning, emphatic calling, no time for stalling, let's go, wake up everyone who's sleeping, meet me on the road, new inspiration, no contemplation,
That, ladies and gentlemen, is our next Member of Parliament for Port of Spain South. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you she was a hard worker, but obviously tonight she was a little ill-disciplined. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Rowley told us that a nation is not only built on roads, ports, box drains, bridges, and buildings, but it is built on the collective dreams, ideas, aspirations, values, and principles of its people. One of the people in the PNM who epitomizes the dreams and aspirations of our people is Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines. Fitzgerald Hines is the first Rastaman of our PNM. Born in Gonzales, Fitzgerald Hines served as a police officer, an insurance agent, minister in the Ministry of National Security, member of Parliament for Laventille East Morvant, opposition senator, chairman of the Parliament's Public Accounts Enterprises Committee, and youth officer of our People's National Movement. A married man and father of 3, a doctor, a medical student, and a law student. Fitzgerald Hines is well placed to guide our young people. Join with me in welcoming Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines, the next Member of Parliament for Laventille West.
That's the strangest man I've seen. Having the mark of a Nazarene. He carries a prophetical message. Warning out the time and out the day.
Our country is in deep crisis. Our economy, for example, has not grown in the last 5 years. The problems of crime persist. The Kamla Prasad Bisesa-led cabal and government offers us little or no hope. It was C.L.L. James, a great son of Trinidad and Tobago, who told this world accurately that the best sign of a society in decay is when those who are elected to govern or lead that society appears wholly unable to find solutions to the problems that arise. Madam Camille Robinson Regis, in your capacity as Master of Ceremonies, Chairman of these proceedings, Our Lady Vice Chairman, Head of our Women's League, I thank you for your kind introduction. Our party Chairman, Mr. Franklin Khan, former Minister of Government, former Member of Parliament, and of course, our indomitable, our principled, our strong, our man of integrity, our political leader, the leader of the People's National Movement, and the next Prime Minister of this Republic, the Right and Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Make no mistake about that. A tailor living up the road
I spoke to him today, and he told me, in his opinion, I know shared by many, Dr. Rowley is the best deserving and the most serious man in Trinidad and Tobago and deserves to be the country's prime minister. Our deputy political leaders, Madam Marlene MacDonald, who just addressed us so powerfully, Mr. Rowan Sinanan, our campaign manager as well, and Madam Joan Yule Williams, who I promised a ladder to get into that wardrobe. A special good evening to you, my lady. All party officers, in particular our General Secretary, Mr. Ashton Ford, and of course our hard-working operations officer, Irene Namesake Hines. Mr. Adrian Leons, my brother, Rasta taking over. A beautiful son, a beautiful presentation, his maiden presentation, reminds me of what it was in 1995 when I came, except of course he's better looking than I am. The young Joy Benjamin, our youth speaker, who again delivered so masterfully here to great pride this evening. All the local government representatives present, the chairman and executive of the Laventille East Morvant constituency, fellow candidates, so many of you, party members, especially my Beatham crew, powerfully represented here tonight, friends, supporters, lovers of the PNM, those of you listening at home, on your radios and of course online, members of the media, members of the protective services, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, peace and blessings to each and every one of you. General election time is here. The 5 years that we troubled about is gone. We're watching the enemy straight in the eye now, and we're seeing the white of the eye. And as we put on with PNM war paint, and we say, great is the PNM, and we have the symbol of the Balize, we taking no prisoners. We licking down that for the benefit of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The time has come for you to pass judgment upon her and upon her hosts and her friends and her supporters and the other infidels and the other traitors and those who have done damage and pain and embarrassment to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I make no apology. I come for political war. Not literally, you know, they like to misquote me. The Prime Minister is now shamelessly, not surprisingly, and shamelessly telling you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that she wants another 5 years to create a new Trinidad and Tobago. After you finish wreck it, after you rape it, after you embarrass it in the region and internationally, after you desecrated the cabinet, you desecrated the residents at St. Anne's, and if that wasn't enough, you desecrate your own. And now you want 5 more years to do that to me again, Kamla Prasad Bisesa? You think I born big? You think I kill priests? Or pundit? Or imam? Must Rasta bear this cross alone and all the wicked and heathens go free? Just say no! We coming to wipe out oppression, wipe out corruption, tear down Babylon, and set the people of Trinidad and Tobago free. That's what we come to do. She wants 5 years, telling us she's going to fix the blue economy. Well, the only thing I know she is familiar with blue thing. It might have a blue label, but that's another story. And green economy. I heard them talking about a green plant-like substance. That's what you're talking about, Kamla Prasad Bisesa? And a silver economy. You know, this government has substantially increased the public debt from $64 billion in 2010 to about $94 billion today. That children's hospital, that they can't tell you how much the interest rate will run at. They borrow money from China. That is part of the public debt. No economic growth, as I told you. Unemployment, they say down, but across my constituency and here in Laventille East Morvant, still higher than national average unemployment. We were downgraded by Moody's, but she wants another 5 years to fix this. We have a crime problem, a growing and burgeoning crime problem. She wants another 5 years to fix it after she told us she could do it in 120 days. You think we born big? Their major tool to deal with crime was an SOE. You will remember they obliterated our OPV program. The only youth program that they introduced in the last 5 years was the live sport program, and everybody know what became of that. It criminalized some of our youth. For those who know, it caused death and mayhem in the eastern parts of this country. They corrupted our young people. On the other hand, we, the PNM, gave them YTEP. We gave them GATE. We gave them MyLat. We gave them MyPart. We gave them CCC. We gave them the elite sports programs. That was the PNM's record for the young people of Trinidad and Tobago. You gave them death and mayhem and corruption. She says to us, we will not negotiate with terrorists. A nice line. We will hunt them down and jail them. I heard Minister KD saying, lock them up and throw away the key. But when in his own ministry he had to deal with someone who had a bogus degree in the airport, Mr. KD didn't have all that hostility. He said he didn't want to further embarrass the gentleman. The lady went to Gasparillo to conduct her affairs, and just so calling my name, accusing me, well, I'm not even sure what she's accusing me of, but she have a problem because I said that all of them belong to the same murky lagoon. Now I want sensible people in this country to tell me what in that is racist. Maybe she don't like the word alligator, because a friend of mine gave me a beautiful wallet made out of alligator skin. That too good. And ladies have shoes and handbags and belts. So I should have said Zanji. What in that is racist? I was speaking and calling her to order. I was speaking about Mr. Ashworth Jack's house in Tobago. The people of Tobago confronted and cornered Ashworth Jack and asked him who built that house. And when he found difficulty, he told the people of Tobago that it was bought from his selling pumpkin and bodi and cucumber. The people obviously didn't believe him. They chased him out 12-0. So when she saw that, she wouldn't answer who built she house. And why did the contractor hide his company logo while he was on site building the house? Because if I'm a tradesman or a contractor and I get a job from Dr. Rowley or the Prime Minister, I will put that on my resume. That's something to be proud about. Why would you be hiding your label while you're working in the Prime Minister's house? That, in my language as a former police officer, is suspicious. Suspicious. So they raised questions about her house too. She put her hand around Mr. Jack in Tobago and said, Ashworth boy, you and I are in the same lagoon. We are in the same boat. They're talking about your house and a contractor, SIS, and they're talking about mine in the same way. And I said from a PNM platform that that is the kind of leadership that she provides. It's no leadership at all. She's not in a position to call any of her persons to order. I was speaking about Ashworth Jack and the Prime Minister. Suddenly, my statement become racist. And telling me about she plant rice and she plant cane. I don't know about you and your cane. I am not interested. And go further to take time on a platform last night. In about 2011, or no, 2010, there was some heavy floodings in West Trinidad, and she went down there for the usual photo op in tall boots and all kind of thing. Place she pulling rake and pulling shovel and pushing barrow and bring a few hampers. The woman hand dirty. I saw a picture on the papers, which I still have. She facing south, hand parallel to the ground, fingers pointing upward like this, and a Rasta man on the other end kissing the hand. Well, I get vexed because I know we stand for hygiene. If your hand have mud and he was handling shovel and pickaxe, what a man doing kissing your hand? I get vexed and I call him a rude little dreadlock. And wasn't no little boy. It's a brother of mine called Jumbo, who everybody know in this country. A big man. And I raised with him. I said from the parliament, I want you to tell me, since you find yourself in a kind of humbling way as a Rasta man. I didn't like it. It's not to say giving a gentle kiss on the hand the way gentlemen do. Nothing wrong with that. To show honor and respect for our ladies. We are accustomed to that. It's so we know it. But you quite out there with your mouth and the end of them not so clean hands. I had a problem with that. And I asked from the parliament whether he could say when last did he kiss his mother's hand, who nurtured him as a baby and cleaned his behind and fed him. That was my question. I didn't know the answer. And when last he kissed his girlfriend's hand or his children's mother's hand, who nurtured his babies and cooked his food and rubbed his back when he needed it. That was all I asked. She got on the platform last night raising that too. But if she have time for that, that is a matter for her. I want to tell you, we have a crime problem in Trinidad and Tobago going out of style. All the young people in this country have easy access to firearms. Everybody knows that. All over my constituency and all over the country, because you see, this government came to office thinking wrongly that crime started and ended in Morvant and Laventille. And it was only our children and them in Laventille doing it. So when they put the state of emergency in place, it's 8,000 of the people from the corridor they went and picked up. Because they wrongly believe that crime started and finished here. Everything is Laventille. But I want them to know tonight, as long as I have breath in me, and as long as I am called by my leader and my party and the people to represent them, I will not tolerate labels for the people of Laventille in this country anymore. Because you saw Joy Benjamin, you saw Adrian Leons, you see Marlene McDonald, you see me, and there are thousands better than us from Laventille, sons and daughters. We're not taking labels again. We're done with that. And this stupid talk about PNM never did anything for them, which always start, we calling on the people of Laventille to cut that out because it is not the truth. and stop talking bad on yourself. Because while we were dealing with you, they were saying that we spending all the money and we only looking after the people of Laventille and the corridor. And so when they came to government, just as they had a misunderstanding on crime, so too they had a misunderstanding on the country's development. So they spent all the money all the time in South and Central to correct a perceived imbalance which never existed. That is Kamla Prasad and a team. So crime is a problem, and now they realize it's in Chaguanas East, and it's in Chaguanas West, and it's all over Trinidad and Tobago. So the myth that it is only about Laventille has now to be debunked, dispelled. So my leader, one day, seeing the thing was getting out of control when I was still in the parliament, called Camille Robinson Regis, Marlene MacDonald, myself, Dale Singh, Faris Al-Rawi, and we formed a delegation led by our leader and invited Kamla Prasad Bisesa and her government to sit down in talks to discuss this national problem of crime, which we understand is one of the major and most pressing issues facing you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And we made a suggestion or two to them, in fact 10. And let me tell you what we said to them, very seriously, in an air-conditioned room in the Prime Minister's office in Sinclair. We said that we will support immediately in the Parliament any legislation to simplify the process for recruiting a police commissioner, which we recognize was very cumbersome and presented difficulty. We recommended certain things, and that was our proposal. All it required was the government writing the law, coming to Parliament, and we guaranteed them the opposition support. They never took us on. And we understood why later the Attorney General, speaking like Satmaraj does on behalf of the Prime Minister, told us it is better to have the commissioner acting as commissioner. That way you could better control him. Did I hear you say bloat? Oh. We recommended a manpower audit. Obviously, the police service is the major institution for dealing with crime prevention and crime detection in Trinidad and Tobago. We're not sure whether it has grown even in number to match the demands of a current Trinidad and Tobago. So a manpower audit will tell us how many men and women we needed and what skill sets they required in order to perform efficiently as an organization, important as the police service is. We recommended as well, especially in light of the fact that by then, that Prime Minister, on the advice of a police superintendent, she, having overlooked the authority of the commissioner, wrote directly to Superintendent Prasad to get his advice about what has to be done with the SIA. She obliterated it. She said that Brigadier Joseph was spying on her. She paid millions of dollars in an out-of-court settlement for that slander. But meanwhile, we were now without a specialized intelligence gathering agency. Dr. Rowley and our team presented them with the idea that you must have one, whatever you call it. You think they take us on? We told them that the municipal police in the various regional corporations are there. The law is in place. When I was a police officer, I trained for 7 months in the police training college with officers of the municipal police, Port of Spain and others. They are trained as police officers, but they work with the borough or the city. We said their strength is low. They could do more to help the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we recommend that you increase the strength in the 14 corporations immediately by 100 men and women each. That way we would immediately have 1,400 new police officers in our boroughs and in our towns and cities. They will look after public spaces, schools, hospitals, parks, cemeteries, and local assets, and free up the regular police to do investigations and other aspects of policing. You think they take us on? We recommended, important as crime is, a standing joint select committee of the parliament, members from the Senate, independent senators, opposition senators, government senators, in a bipartisan, if you like, a non-partisan arrangement, in a joint select committee, so that we wouldn't be chopping and changing policy when governments change on the question of crime. You will have stability, as happens in England and in the more mature democracies and polities of the world. They rejected that too. We recommended immediately and told them we will support legislation to deal with witness tampering, because we understood full well that when witnesses, important as they are to the administration of justice, are interfered with and killed, afraid to come to court, the whole system could collapse. We went through a lot of trouble in early 2000, amending the Evidence Act to stave off the behavior of criminals who thought they could kill witnesses before the preliminary inquiry. And then when we changed the legislation and we said the statement could be used in the High Court, they started killing them again. We had to amend the law again. All of that. We suggested that they bring legislation to deal with witness tampering. We now understand why they perhaps didn't do it. The then Attorney General was on the government's team in the discussions with us. And we observed their reluctance. The upshot of all of the thing is that the former Attorney General is now under police investigation, making history in this country. The first Attorney General so to do had to demit office ingloriously under police investigation on an allegation of witness tampering. We suggested further home invasion. I walked my constituency up the day before yesterday. I am sure Adrian Leons could tell you the same. I am sure every one of my fellow candidates will tell you. You meet empty houses in Morvant and Laventille and other parts of the country. I personally know, when I represented here, at least 8 families who had to pick up their Jaji bundle from their home and flee, leave all that they had earned behind, because criminals pursuing them to kill them, and the society or the state unable to give them the protection that makes them sufficiently comfortable. We suggested that this thing about home invasion must be a thing of the past. A man's home is his castle, and if I can't be safe in my home, where else will I be safe? So we suggested strong home invasion legislation. So anybody who come to put granny out of the house because she witnessed a crime, we will deal with that. They rejected that too. And then we suggested on the more social side, because we of the PNM understand this thing requires a total, all-rounded approach. It cannot only be militaristic. It cannot only be about police and arrest and charge. We're dealing with human beings too. And there are some social issues. So we recommended, in part, an urban redevelopment program, recognizing that people want to feel proud about where they live. Like the people in Clifton Towers. They got beautiful homes. When you move, I see people move to tears when they get a nice home that they could be proud of. So we promised, and we began when we were in government, and we told them, you should have urban redevelopment, improve the homes and the surrounding circumstances of the people. That way, they will be engaged in employment in that redevelopment, and everybody will benefit. The economy will be stimulated. Contractors will be at work. All manners of skills will be employed. And at the same time, the ambience will be improved, and the human being will feel a whole lot better. And finally, We told them, we support the CCJ, and you should take action now to bring it wholesale for the benefit of the people of Trinidad and Tobago as our final court of appeal. They didn't take us on. And the Prime Minister is on record as saying that she does not support the Caribbean Court of Justice, our Caribbean institution, populated with jurists from the region of the highest order, respected internationally. And she wouldn't support it because it didn't have no Indians on it. It doesn't reflect. That was the language of our Prime Minister. And why did we recommend those things, ladies and gentlemen? Because the PNM understands full well that establishing public safety is the first priority of the government of any country. We understand that. Law and order is critical. In Trinidad and Tobago, today, law and order is at an all-time low. People doing what they want. As I told you, young men getting easy access to guns and the busing shot left, right, and center. I'm talking to a lady last week on the phone. She said, oh God, Mr. Hines, I couldn't hear. She told me a gunshot like rain. She had to go in the bathroom where she felt she was safer. The thing is gone crazy. Crimes unreported. Many crimes undetected, a low detection rate by the police. Even in the prison, some of them sometimes behave as though they want the lunatics to take over the asylum. But I want to ask the prison commissioner to stand strong. It is public service you are offering. And once your officers operate within the confines of the law and don't break the law and breach people's constitutional rights, we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, support you because we understand full well the job you must do to protect all of us. Modern policing, professional policing, requires just a number of things, you know. And we have the answers. High visibility. People must see them around. I was at the airport in Miami like some of you. I heard a little noise coming behind. When I looked back, it was a police officer in the concourse inside the airport on a bicycle, armed to the teeth, with a radio, could call 1,000 police if he wanted. And that made me feel comfortable. I love to see the police around. And I take this opportunity to salute the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, and all other arms of the protective services. Because whatever they say, however inefficient it might be, without your presence tonight, the situation would have been considerably worse. Foot patrols. That brings the police in direct contact with the people on the beat rather than drive past in an air-conditioned blue and white car. Although we know foot patrols today is fraught with some risk because people could stay from anywhere and fire more easily upon you. We understand that. Rapid response. You would have seen it. Dr. Rowley and the PNM, at our expense, sent me last year to the United States, where, as I told you before, I spent 3 days on patrol with officers in the United States, in Washington. And what most impressed me was the response. Whenever a call came up on that computer in the car, and that walkie-talkie or that radio in the car broadcast a situation, by the time my patrol, I was in one of them, by the time I reached on the scene, most times there were 2 other cars. And I understood from the guys, 3 and 4 cars respond to every one of those calls. The citizens feel so good. The police feel good because they know they are efficient. The criminals who might be watching know that there's an immediate response. And this was done at Halifax County, where I learned from that living experience. And I saw men no better than the men of our police service. Same 16 ounces of gray matter, same 2 hands, same 2 foot, same moral purpose and compass. And they could do it, we could do it too. We could do it too. And so, my leader has authorized me to say to the people of Trinidad and Tobago that we intend to invest plenty money and training to gain efficiency from our police officers. When the police come on the scene, the public must feel a professional has arrived. And he will get to the bottom of this. And the police must walk in the confidence that we will solve it. The current detection rate is horribly low. And all it requires is some planning and some training and some energy on our part. And that will be done. There's a likelihood you will get caught, and that is the greatest deterrence. So, in this culture of high crime and low detection, the criminals feel overly empowered. And as I told you, we will invest in training and their development, professional development. We will invest heavily in the most cutting-edge technology for the police. We will invest and re-establish an intelligence gathering agency specialized in so doing. And they must share that with other arms of the police service so that nobody would be operating in a silo. The left hand must know what the right hand is doing to the extent that that could be done safely. We will hire more educated people. Today, the requirement for the police service is 5 O-levels, including math and English. But we want to recruit people who are qualified in various fields. Today's policing requires all kinds of skills, even theology, in terms of dealing with people in this modern and demanding society. The focus will be on solving crime. And we want to see, after a short while, we are confident that our police officers, because during the state of emergency, I did not like it, I thought it was unnecessary. This government abused state of emergency powers. They abused the people of the country quite unnecessarily. But I saw the police service during the 3 months or so of the state of emergency execute 8,000 warrants in Trinidad and Tobago. Warrants that might have been getting cobweb in desks in police stations around the country. And that showed me, that was the only light in that dark tunnel. It showed me that our guys have the capacity to step up to the plate when it is required so to do. So brothers and sisters, we understand what is required. That's why we put the OPV program in place, which this government scuttled. And now going to Enterprise to say that she's grievously concerned about the crime situation. We of the PNM say, if you had stayed on the track that we had laid, we would not have been where we are today. You contributed to it, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, and you stand so accused. So now that the elections come in, she can't face the people as the UNC, that ugly label. So she puts Kamla on the podium. She knows that, as Marlene McDonald said, the COP dead. That's why they're in white. Dead white corpuscles, aka pus. Corpse. She can't send the corpse to the East-West corridor to take 6 seats again. No more big mouth Arnold Roberts, who talk a whole lot about $2 million flag and then gave one man 18 times 2 for a job that was never done in the life sport program. She can't come to you and talk about corruption. She can't come to you and talk about good governance. Because now they have to account for their lies. Every Monday morning they were lying to you, wouldn't they? They were deceitful. They were spiteful. They were wicked to some people. Fired about 4,000 people who they met on contract across the public service. They practice racism too. They practice discrimination. Bogus degrees are plenty. plenty reshmis. All you only know about one reshmi. It had more. And we tired of all of that. So the hour has come. And then they come now trying to trick us. They had Mr. Hamill Smith, my good friend, the former president of the Senate, on their platform 2 weeks ago or less. He and Jerry Yetming, all of a sudden, this man sat down there for 5 years. He lived through Reshmi. He found nothing wrong with the behavior of the government in clause 34. He went through the SOE and he sat there quiet like a dawn, like a church mouse, a squeaky little church mouse with a mustache. Now all of a sudden, he come into form party and went down by the EBC to register party. Well, I haven't seen the logo as yet, but the name of the party is Third. I heard Marlene McDonald mispronouncing it. She's saying Third, as they taught her in St. Francois College, and she learned in law school, and Granny taught her Third, T-H-I-R-D. That's a mispronunciation. It's T-U-R-D. And I checked the Oxford Dictionary today and saw the meaning of T-U-R-D, and it said a pile of excrement. And they're calling it third force. And you know when there's constipation, you have to force. So the UNC was the first force, and the COP was the second force. And now Hamill Smith and Nicole Dyer and Gary Griffith and Jerry Yetming and Joe Perez, them is the third force. But I think their symbol should be Mr. Hamill Smith on a cesspit in Westmoreland with a flit gun, killing the cockroaches that interfere with it. This is an insult to the people. What do they think? They think we are foolish. So you come to represent the COP to us, a second generation COP, after spineless Prakash and Arnel Roberts and them caused us so much grief. You on the corridor voted for them, and they took your 6 seats and carried it, just like my friend, and put it at the feet of the Prime Minister. And for 5 years, she gave you pressure. She raped your country. She embarrassed you. Destroyed all our institutions. Whether it's Integrity Commission, Cabinet, even the office of the President is now under threat. The citizens are demonstrating disrespect in a way I never expected. I began by telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that our country is in crisis. I began by telling you that Kamla Prasad Bisesa and her government is part of the problem. I should really have told you they are the problem. And come September the 7th, you and I all together have our opportunity to reject their lies, to reject their deceit, to reject their racism and discrimination, to reject their oppression, to reject their corruption, and give Trinidad and Tobago a chance to breathe again. We give you an assurance. We give you an assurance that we will provide your country with stable, solid PNM government, led by a serious man, a man of principle and class and integrity, a man who we have absolutely no choice but to respect, a man who told me once, I told you before, in a conversation about leadership and the behavior of a cabinet minister that was in Kamla Prasad Bisesa's government. I happened to call my leader as I close, and we are on the phone, and I raised with him the behavior of a cabinet minister who has since been fired. And he said to me, Fitz, she can't fire him. I said, why? He said, she does not have the moral authority. And then my leader said something that was remained on the tablets of my soul and will remain so until I die. I hope he doesn't mind me revealing this. But he said to me, and I quote, Fitzgerald Hines, a prime minister must be able to fire any of his ministers at any time for good reason without any fear that that minister could fire back. Today, she fired 25 and everybody firing back left, right and center, living room, bedroom. How did I know she had a long work week? It's fire back, they firing back from Wednesday night to Monday night. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, we have borne your burden for 5 years. It's time that we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, ditch the lady. The 7th of September is our time. And we will all go to Balize House on that evening. After we have done the business, the old people, the young people, the professionals, the men and women of the cloth, the grassroots, the men, the women, the talented, the not so talented, all of us will deal with you on September the 7th. And we of the PNM will shout in great triumph and rejoice. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. And we have prevailed. I thank you.
That was Fitzgerald Hines, the candidate for the Laventille West constituency for the People's National Movement in the upcoming general elections, which will be held on September 7th here in beautiful Twin Island State, Trinidad and Tobago. You're listening to your favorite station, I-95.5 FM. We are up here on the Lady Young Road in Morvant, and we are bringing you this public meeting hosted by the People's National Movement. So far for the evening, we heard from Ms. Joy Benjamin. She was the youth speaker, and she was followed by Mr. Adrian Leon, the candidate for Laventille East Morvant for the People's National Movement, and Marlene McDonald, the candidate for Port of Spain South for the People's National Movement. And of course, we just heard Mr. Fitzgerald Hines, the candidate for Laventille West for the People's National Movement in the upcoming general elections 2015, which will be held in Trinidad and Tobago in just a couple of weeks' time. And of course, your favorite station, I-95.5 FM, will bring you the events as they happen, press conferences, you name it, public meetings of all of various political parties that would like us to get the word out, because we are the #1 station here in Trinidad and Tobago. Coming up now is the feature address by the political leader of the People's National Movement, and he is Dr. Keith Rowley, and he is the candidate for Diego Martin West, and he's also the political leader of the People's National Movement. Let me take this opportunity to say a very special thanks to all our friends who are listening to us on I-95.5 FM. A very special evening to you, wherever you are in Trinidad and Tobago, up the islands here, in the Caribbean, that you can hear us. And of course, our friends who are logged on to www.i955fm.com. A very special morning, evening,
to ensure
whatever time of day it is. There are people up in the various countries, our friends up in Tijuana, our friends in Norway, our friends in London, you name it. Of course, many Trinbagonians reside up in the good old USA. Thanks for listening to your favorite station, I-95.5 FM. The chair for the evening, Ms. Camille Robinson Regis, is at the podium.
On September 8th, he will carry the mantle of Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. We are, he has said, the second wave of nation builders. And it's time to pick up our tools and build with boundless faith in our destiny. With our faith in Keith Christopher Rowley, I present you with the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Christopher Rowley.
They can't keep a good man down, always keep a smile when they want me to frown. Keep the vibes and I stood my ground. They will never ever take my crown. Oh, damn bless, I say no man curse. Things getting better when they thought it would be worse. Here comes the officers asking for a search. They found no weapon, just only a drawer. But I'm so solid as a rock, they just can't stop me now. Even when they set their traps, they just can't stop me now. People will say this and that, they just can't stop me now. Even when they set up roadblocks, they just can't stop me now.
Thank you very much, Chairman of tonight's proceedings, Lady Vice Chairman of the PNM, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis, Party Chairman Mr. Franklin Khan, Deputy political leaders, other party officers, candidates, councillors, residents of Morvant, Laventille, visitors to Morvant, Laventille. Tonight, I feel like I've come home again. Because I don't know how many of you know that I spent a lot of my formative years growing up in Laventille and in Morvant. Those were the days when Laventille and Morvant were the city of lights for a boy from Tobago, coming from Mason Hall in Tobago and arrived in Laventille, and I could easily have arrived in New York. And then as my mother shared her home with me in 12 Cosmo Street, Coconut Drive, these streets were my stomping ground. Matapal Street, Taproot Street, the cinema in Morvant, a girlfriend in Second Caledonia, and going to late shows at 11 in the night and walking home at 4 o'clock in the morning and nothing on your mind but love. But the future of young people is so different now, and the situation has changed so much that if a young man does that today, nothing on his mind but crime. Our country has changed, and in many ways not for the better. And that is why we have to treat this period and the assignment given to our managers with the greatest seriousness. I've been accused of many things. One of them is that I'm too serious. That is true. I'm serious. I'm serious about the state of affairs in Trinidad and Tobago. And my understanding of national management is that it takes serious leadership to guide and govern a serious country and a serious people. And that is the basis on which I offer myself to you in Morvant, in Caroni, in Tobago, in Point Fortin, and all over Trinidad and Tobago. You know, the government of any country has a responsibility to treat with the issues of the day, whatever those issues are. That is the work program of the government. So in 2010, when we had a serious crime problem which impacted very seriously on the quality of life of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, during that general election, those who offered themselves as alternative to the PNM, holding out the hope and the prospect for a better life for the people of Morvant, Carenage, Toco, Enterprise, San Fernando, that we will treat comprehensively with the crime problem in Trinidad and Tobago. That was their assignment. Today I can tell you, as of June 30th this year, 201 persons have ceased to exist in Trinidad and Tobago as a result of violent exit. June 30th, halfway through the year. And of course, if you add those from July to now, the same pace continues unabated, not even making the news anymore. And those who are responsible, instead of allowing you to mark their scorecard on how miserably they have failed, they're bombarding you with all kinds of niceties for the election season, hoping to get by this season. And on the 8th of April, if you make the mistake and put them back in office, the same thing that you enjoyed for the last 5 years will continue, because they would have crossed the hurdle of accountability. Is September coming? 7th of September? You know that we're coming on the 31st of September. So now they're coming on the 7th of September. Okay? But on the 8th of September, the morning after the election, if you wake up to the same arrangements, your life would be the same and possibly worse. What these elections offer you are new opportunities to choose new candidates, new managers for new opportunities for the prospect of doing better. That is what September 7th holds out to you. So we had a crime problem. And you know, good governance matters. If you don't have good governance, your problems can remain intractable and your quality of life will not change for the better. So in 2011, you know what happened? We bought a jail. Remember that story? One of the achievements of this government is that they bought a jail for $300 million in Santa Rosa. Remember that? But what is today's news? Today's news is that there's an explosive condition in the prisons of Trinidad and Tobago, where our prisons are in fact hellholes where any morning you could wake up and there are conditions in the prison which threaten national security in a way that didn't exist in 5 years ago. It has got worse. We've spent the money, but how did that change the problem? $300 million of additional jail space. You have to ask yourself, how and why did that expenditure not impact on the conditions of our prison? Because those who are managing our affairs don't care. They believe that they could allow these things to fester. They believe that they could appoint ministers left, right, and center. How many ministers of the prison have we had in this 5-year period? You can stop counting. How many national security ministers we've had? 5. What conditions have changed in the jail? It has got worse. Under this government, earlier in their tenure, there was a conflagration in the prison and the threat was great. They sent in investigators under Professor Diosaran to go in and do an emergency assessment. We thought that this will bring the government to treat with the issues in the prison. What has come out of that? Absolutely nothing. Today, the $300 million prison sits up there in Santa Rosa, and the owners of that prison, who couldn't even rent it as a dance hall or a storeroom, are multimillionaires today. People in the government are multimillionaires today, but the prison condition has got worse. And I'll tell you something else too. Mr. Hines spoke about the coming into being since election day of the party of the third, led by a former senator. How many of you in this audience had come to Port of Spain for that march on Section 34 when we marched on the president? I know that you were there, because we woke up one morning and the Guardian advised us that the government of Trinidad and Tobago, under the watchful eye of Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the fit one, had authorized the president to extract a clause, a very curious clause, which had caused us some concern in the parliament when it appeared in the law. The prime minister authorized that on Independence Night, when we were watching fireworks, that the president should proclaim that clause, and the singular effect of that clause was to create the opportunity for two government financiers charged with criminal conduct to escape the courts in Trinidad and in the United States. So outraged were we when we discovered that in the Guardian, that I gave you 24 hours notice to meet me in Port of Spain, and you came out in your thousands and we marched upon the president. And I went to President's house with you behind me. It rained on that day, you remember? I took into President's house a bag on my shoulder like a farmer, with pages upon pages upon pages of your signature, some of them wet by the rain. And I said to the president, who was the acting president then, the said Timothy Hamilsmith, I said to him, President, Your Excellency, I would like you to conduct an investigation into how this cabinet note got to the President Maxwell Richards to cause him to have proclaimed that clause. Investigate the entire process and tell us how this happened. Because Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bisesa and her government had given the parliament the assurance that no such thing will happen. And then the president wrote me a letter under secret and private and confidential cover, meaning I'm talking to you, but don't tell anybody what I tell you. And he said to me then, in that situation where government could have so misconducted itself, the president wrote me then, the acting president, and said, I have investigated the matter, looked at all the documents, and conducted the investigation as requested. And these were his words to me: I have found nothing out of the ordinary. In other words, there was nothing for anybody to account for. That was the finding of Mr. Timothy Hamilsmith, acting president, who wrote me in defense of the UNC government, of which he was very much a part. However, that being so, within a matter of 24 hours, I got a copy of the said cabinet note, which he was supposed to have investigated, and reported to me that he has found nothing out of the ordinary. But when we got the cabinet note after that statement, guess what the cabinet note contained? The cabinet said to President Richards, in asking him to proclaim Section 34, that it is required that this be done to appoint masters of the Supreme Court. That is one of the biggest lies ever put in a cabinet note in Trinidad and Tobago. They duped the president, telling him proclaim this clause because it is required to appoint masters of the Supreme Court, which was a requirement of the Omnibus Law. When in fact, if in fact they wanted to appoint masters of the Supreme Court, what had to be done was an amendment to the Supreme Court of Judicature Act and not the proclamation of Clause 34. The Prime Minister is a senior counsel. Mr. Hamid-Smith is a lawyer of great repute. Prakash Ramadar was chairman of the parliamentary committee overlooking all of that. All of them lawyers. And they want us to believe that that was an accident. And even when he investigated the matter, when tens of thousands of you were on the street, he then tried to dupe me, to tell me on your behalf that he has investigated the matter and he has found nothing out of the ordinary. And that being so, the next thing we knew, a minister of government was fired for the thing. Volney was fired. And then the Attorney General had questions to answer. And then the Prime Minister was telling us untruths that Anand Ramlogan was not in the country when it happened. And so on, and so on, and so on. The Parliament had to meet in emergency session to repeal Section 34. But nothing out of the ordinary was seen by Mr. Hamid-Smith. And worse, after the two financiers got their benefit because the law existed for a few days and they went straight to the court as if they knew it was coming, the government repealed the entire law. Mission accomplished. You know what the law was? The law was the Administration of Justice Bill. And you know what was the purpose of that law? It was to eliminate the backlog in the courts and to treat with the problem which is exploding in our face today in the prisons of Trinidad and Tobago. The government abolished the law and has left the situation the same because they came to the Parliament purporting to be treating with the national problem, but all they were interested in was creating the loophole for Ish and Steve to escape. And once they escaped, the government came to the Parliament and abolished the law. And the prisons are where they are today. And today I heard the most horrendous, unbelievable story. That there are people in our prisons on remand yard who have been there for over 10 years waiting for the case to be tried. There was one individual who was mentioned today who has been there for 14 years waiting for his case to be heard. People of Trinidad and Tobago, that is the problem which the government of Trinidad and Tobago was hired to fix. That is the problem that the law was passed in the Parliament to fix. They insert in the law Section 34. They release their financiers. And Mr. Hamid-Smith tells us he found nothing out of the ordinary. Birds of a feather flock together. 2 weeks ago, he was offering his services to the UNC in any position. In fact, as I speak to you now, he is the UNC's point man on the Procurement Legislation Implementation Committee. But out of the blue, after the election is called, he forms a political party to help the UNC. How can you trust these people? How can you trust any of them? On one hand, you have the UNC that passed a law under those circumstances, that spent $300 million virtually wasted, that put the interests of two people above the national interests. You have a man telling you now, I have resigned from the COP. When did he resign from the COP? When the 5-year term of the Parliament came to an end. After the Parliament dissolved itself, he resigned from the COP. And after the election is called, he now forms a party. And you know what that party is about? It is an admission that the COP is now useless to the electorate. So he has resigned from them. It is also an admission that he dare not stand on a podium like I am doing now and ask any COP supporter or any citizen to vote for the UNC, because the UNC is hiding from its own name. When last you heard the Prime Minister speak about the UNC? She's hiding behind the rubric of People's Partnership. And they break up, they mash up Israeli People's Divorce. But she's hiding behind that, ashamed of her own organization, to the extent that the man who formed it, Basdio Pandi, is saying he can't recognize the UNC. That is not the party he formed. That is Kamala and the Cabal. But they believe that the many tens of thousands of persons who took the opportunity in 2010 to try something, to remove the PNM and give others the opportunity to do better. And we can't argue with the electorate for that. And we in the PNM, we are accustomed to that. Because in our 60-year history, the only 3 places in this country where the people have not sometime in that history voted against the PNM when they were not happy with us was Bukulambo in Tobago, Laventil, and San Fernando East. In every other part of the country from time to time, when our supporters are not happy with what the PNM is doing or would have done, they voted the PNM out of office, and we understand that. But they have a different approach. He now forms a party to be able to siphon those persons away who are now seeing the PNM as their option as against the UNC non-option. And that is the deceit and the deception of that thing. So tonight, I want to ask Mr. Hamel-Smith when he speaks tomorrow as leader of his new party, whether he still believes that the Section 34 scandal was nothing out of the ordinary. So he launched a party on 2 fingers, because you know one finger is obscene. So he launched a party on 2 fingers. One is on procurement legislation, and the other one is on campaign finance. Procurement legislation. And guess who is his partner in this party? Carson Charles. Carson Charles, who is head of NIDCO. So they are now the champions of procurement. I want to ask Carson Charles tonight and the UNC, who's sponsoring them, how did the highway to Point 14 move from 2.5 billion to 7 billion? How did the budget for land acquisition move from 475 million to 1 billion? How did you manage to construct and threaten the award of a contract where 2 contractors, one with a very bad bid, one with a very expensive bid, and somewhere in NIDCO, Carson Charles has found a way to join the 2 contractors and now threatening to give them the overpass to build in Curep? What procurement process was involved in that, Mr. Charles? And when Junior Minister Stacey got a fit of truth and reported that Minister Rambachan was interfering in the evaluation process for the award of the same contract, was Carson Charles interested in procurement then? But they want to form party on that. And of course, we are weeks away. I think somebody said we are now, 8 Sundays from election? 9 Sundays from election? And this new party that they're coming with to try and fool you, to split votes away from the PNM, they are the champions of campaign finance reform. What do they expect? And interestingly enough, you know, somebody on the radio asked Mr. Hamel-Smith, will you show us open your books to us? Since this is the fundamental principle of your party, open your books to us and tell us who is funding this new party. He said, I can't do that. I only want to talk about campaign finance reform. But if I show you who is funding me, I will give the other side an unfair advantage. And the reason why he can't stick with the principle he started out with in the party is because he cannot show you that their operations are being funded by the UNC. I tell you all of this here in Laventille and all of you listening at home so that you will know the kind of games and tricks they're playing. And especially you young people across Trinidad and Tobago. Now is the hour when your future is in your hand and you are required to take responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago. Begin to show responsibility by accepting that you start with that responsibility of choosing who will govern the affairs of state in Trinidad and Tobago. And when you set out on that responsible course, just inform yourself, if you haven't done so already, that character matters and good governance makes the difference between your success and your failure, and your family's success and your family's failure. And those of you who believe that there's no role for you, I say to you tonight, there's a very important role. And there's no need and there's no purpose to getting angry or getting stressed. Just get active in the election campaign. Get active as a voter and cast that ballot for the People's National Movement. You have 15 more days. Those of you who have not yet registered yourself, check the voters list, because after the 23rd of July, you can no longer get your name on the list. And with your name not being on the list, you would have given up the right to choose who governs Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of tomfoolery is taking place now out of the blue. Out of the blue, the country is now being governed by colors. They tried before and it failed, you know. Many of you here in Morvant, Laventille East, Laventille West, you were called down to the Hilton Hotel by the said Prime Minister for color me orange. Remember that? Your future, your children's future, your opportunity was color me orange. Well, color me orange generated a number of millionaires, and all he got was an opportunity for a picture with the Prime Minister at the Hilton. Remember that story? Now you're going through the whole spectrum of colors, but they ain't touching gray at all. You ever heard about blue goose? You ever heard about green goose? You ever heard about silver goose? They're staying far from gray goose, as if we don't know about gray goose. All kinds of gimmicks, all kinds of subterfuge, and scandalously using the public sector, CNMG, and the state information budget to campaign for the UNC, thinking that they can fool you. As I speak to you now, we have reports about government ministers handing out cash in the eastern counties and in the deep south. And people of Trinidad and Tobago, you have to ask yourself a simple question. Where does a minister of government get hundreds of thousands of dollars to give away so as to get him or herself chosen to represent you in the parliament? If you had any doubt that there were people of dubious character, they are providing you with the proof, because if they will do that before they get into government, God alone knows what they will do when they get into office. As Lloyd Best would have said, when people come to you like that, them is people to watch. They're telling you all you need to know. Because for the last 5 years, not only have they failed spectacular on that number one assignment of improving the security of Trinidad and Tobago, but they failed in every other area of responsibility. Today, they will show you that we built at this or we built at that. Well, we don't begrudge any citizen in this country getting from the government what the government has to offer for the development. You deserve it. You deserve it. But you have to ask yourself, compare what they are showing you of their performance against the price tag of $400 billion. And ask yourself, where in your community did a $400 billion national expenditure change your life, your family's life, or your children's life? Where did it change the economy? You spent $400 billion and the economy is still in the doldrums. Everything you put your hand on created a problem. There was nothing wrong with our foreign exchange distribution system. You put your hand, pick man in the central bank, and if you want $5 now with US in the bank, you can't get it. The opportunities have not been created in the economy, which should have grown to absorb our young people who got themselves trained and qualified, and today the best they can look forward to is an OJT job. Not the sparkling opportunities that the PNM held out for them in an economy that would have grown in Wallowfield, would have grown in La Brea, would have grown in Port of Spain. Instead, what they have done is to have deliberately run down the city of Port of Spain. Your opportunity here in Morvant Laventille to grow with the city, to get employment opportunities, to provide services and skills and so on. Port of Spain is now a dying city by deliberate government policy and program. And they're telling us of the PNM that we are only concerned about Port of Spain. Our record will show that we have always been concerned about the entire Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why I could have moved from Mason Hall to Laventille, to Morvant, to Diego Martin, to this podium tonight, and to offer myself as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. PNM policy from 1956 to 2015. Morvant Laventille, you are the residential districts, the suburbs of the city of Port of Spain. And if Port of Spain is unhealthy, your communities will be unhealthy. And if Port of Spain is dying, then you will not have a good life. Tonight here in Morvant, I give the people of Morvant Laventille and the nation the assurance that under a PNM government, we will ensure that the city of Port of Spain does not die, that it will be rehabilitated, and it will be a city of which every person in Trinidad and Tobago can be proud to acknowledge as the capital city of the proud nation of Trinidad and Tobago. A city is an economic unit. It requires certain inputs, and most of those inputs have been coming from Laventille, Carnage, Diego Martin, and Rung. So when you kill Port of Spain, it's a whole series of communities that you're killing off, and there's no need for that. You don't have to pull down Port of Spain to build up anywhere else in the country. We can all rise on the same tide of good governance. And you don't have to stereotype the crime problem in Laventille, because the criminals are no respecters of any communities. They will get us on their terms whenever they want. We have to respond by having in place the proper state arrangements to respond to criminal conduct in an effective and efficient way. When Bill Clinton was coming in to run for the presidency of America as an outside candidate coming out of Arkansas, the United States as a nation was in a similar position to what we are in today. Chicago, New York, LA, Louisiana, they all had serious runaway crime problem. It was a national malaise. And Mr. Clinton, one of the main planks of his campaign, in fact, it was the economy and security. And he said he will put 100,000 more policemen on the beat in America. Because as Mr. Hines told you earlier on, visibility of that uniform in communities play a great part in keeping the community whole and giving confidence to people that somebody is in charge. 100,000 policemen he put on the beat. And that was the beginning of the rolling back of the criminal invasion of the United States. Today we are in that same position. And while we are not offering 100,000 policemen, we are offering at least 100 policemen per corporation additional to the national police. The law exists for each corporation to have its own constabulary under the management of a leader at superintendent rank. Instead of hiring people and putting them there, and these local people will be in a good position to patrol your streets, to look in your window, to keep a sharp eye on the ne'er-do-well in the district. Instead of doing that, they're spending unbetold millions on something called comfort police that somebody created. And when you ask them, who are these people, they can't tell you. What powers do they have? They can't tell you. What are they doing? They can't tell you. Comfort police. But in true UNC style, somebody somewhere is earning millions of dollars supplying cars and those comfort policemen. And there's no accountability, no monitoring, just money flowing out of the treasury. I say to you, it is possible to spend large sums of money and not address the problem that it is meant to address. Whether it's the prison, whether it is the police on the beat, whether it is comfort police, whether it is laptops in the schools, you can spend large sums of money and not significantly impact on the problem you set out to solve. So tonight, I want to say to you here in Morvant, we all have a habit saying that PNM win already, so we don't have to vote. This is a PNM stronghold. I want to hear none of that. Those are the positions of people who are passing their responsibility onto other people. Rise up and take responsibility for yourselves. Let this be the first day of the beginning of a new style in these hills, where you will take responsibility. Take responsibility for yourselves, for your children, for your family, for your country. Take some responsibility. Do not relinquish that very important charge. So tonight, as the election draws nearer, I want to remind you, sisters, take your brothers to the polling station. Brothers, take your sisters to the polling station. Fathers, take your sons and daughters to the polling station. Mothers, take your daughters and your friends to the polling station. Neighbors, take your neighbors to the polling station. And come September 7th, let us as a people in Trinidad and Tobago take responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago. Let us bring back decency. Let us bring back good governance. Let's bring back hope. Let's bring back a future that gives the young people the best chance to survive under the current circumstances. And when you would have done that, looking at all that's on offer, the PNM and all the others, I put it to you here in Morvant tonight, that you will come to the single, sane and reasonable decision that Trinidad and Tobago has its best chance, its best option under the People's National Movement. We've chosen our candidates very carefully. We've selected them on their track record and their potential to do well in government. And most importantly, on their character as model citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. What more can we ask for? What more can we ask for? Don't leave Trinidad and Tobago into the hands of others who have demonstrated a cavalier disregard for the future of your children, your neighborhood, and for the country as a whole. So tonight, I want to thank you, Morvant Laventille, for your support for Fitzgerald Hines in Laventille West. And for your support and acceptance of Adrian Leons in Laventille East Morvant. And these two men will work with you and the nation to ensure that we remove from Laventille all the stigma that you have lived with over the years. We are in a new dawn in Laventille, under a new PNM leadership, in a new time in the People's National Movement and in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Young people, you have a responsibility to stand with us in this endeavor. Your parents have taken us this far. Do not give up that responsibility to others who may not care about Trinidad and Tobago. So as we go forward to the general election, I'm asking you to take it seriously. There is no shame in being serious. There's comfort in knowing that serious people are available for serious situations, and we are in a serious situation. So I hear you on the night of September 7th, shouting from the hills of Laventille, from Morvant, from Monrepo, from Never Dirty, and wherever you are in these parts, that you would have come out and supported our candidates. You would have supported our policies and programs. You will support our commitment to you, and we'll all shout, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and Trinidad and Tobago will prevail over all its challenges.
That was Dr. Keith Rowley, the political leader of the People's National Movement, giving the 50th address here at this public meeting hosted by the People's National Movement. As we get ready for the general elections here in Trinidad and Tobago. Earlier we heard from Ms. Joy Benjamin, the youth speaker, and then the candidate for Laventille East Morvant, Mr. Adrian Leons, and he was followed by Marlene MacDonald, the candidate for the People's National Movement for the constituency Port of Spain South. Fitzgerald Hines then came and gave his presentation here. He is the candidate for the People's National Movement representing Laventille West, and of course the candidate for Diego Martin West, the political leader of the People's National Movement, Dr. Keith Rowley. He gave the 50th address here at this public meeting, one of the largest gathering at any of the People's National Movement meetings so far for the election season. Let me take this opportunity to say a very special thanks to all our friends who are listening to I-95.5 FM, or friends who are logged on to www.i955fm.com. Thanks for listening to your favorite station. Let me also take this opportunity to say a very special thanks to members of the various political parties here in Trinidad and Tobago and in the wider world. Thanks for listening to I-95.5 FM. We'll keep you abreast of all the events as they happen. Political meeting, press conferences, anything concerning election 2015 here in Trinidad and Tobago. We will bring it to you live on your favorite station, I-95.5 FM. September 7th, that's the day for the general elections here in Trinidad and Tobago. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for listening to your favorite station, I-95.5 FM. So from the Lady Young Road up here in the hills on the Northern Range in Morvant, we now take it back to the studios of I-95.5 FM, the most influential name in radio. It's back to the studio.
May 24th, 2010.
We are ready to lead. We are ready to start governing on day one. From day one, the People's Partnership